What's happening, roadies? This is Bruce Ryder.
This is Sarah Hike.
What's happening, roadies? This is Michael Thomas Regina, and you're listening to Roadie Free Radio.
What's up, roadies? My name is Larry Milburn, and this is Roadie Free Radio, your VIP pass to meet and greet the stars behind the scenes of the music and film business. All right. What is happening, roadies? How are you? This is your host, Larry Milburn, coming at you from a barn in Northwest Connecticut. This is Roadie Free Radio, the podcast that took a nosedive for about the last 4 weeks, but we're coming back. Here we go. Today's guest on episode 137 is front of house engineer and tour manager Michael Thomas Regina. What's happening, people? Wow, I missed you. I am sorry. I am so sorry that I just lost the thread the last few weeks. As many of you know who've been listening to the show and caught the last, I guess, 3 episodes or so, I started a new job. I took a day job, a 30-hour-a-week job on top of everything else that I had going on. All of my video clients, afternoons with my son, all kinds of stuff. I took this job to just have one extra steady is the operative word, the key word, steady income coming in to really try to tackle some debt and get some things paid off and out of the way and done. And as I took that job, one of my video clients, which is a school that I film for, all of their last end of year video needs all of a sudden became due and needed to be shot. Graduation, award ceremonies, games, all kinds of stuff. They just tried to cram it all in. It was literally 7 videos in about 3.5 weeks. And so I had to do that. I had this 30-hour-a-week job. Plus I got an event that I'm putting on once a month. All of it just took a crazy time suck turn. And I didn't have any guests for this show, and I didn't have any time. Literally every hour is blocked out with something to do. And I just lost the thread, man. I lost the thread on getting this thing done. And I felt terrible. I was carrying all this guilt around about not being able to get the shot. I've barely checked social media. I've barely, done anything because I just didn't have time. And I have to say that thanks to, I knew I was going to get back to it. I knew the show wasn't going anywhere. This wasn't like last summer where I deliberately took a break, took the summer off to kind of regroup and refocus. This was like I was going to barrel through. I hadn't missed a week since we came back in Labor Day. And I was hoping to just keep barreling through all the way to January 1st, quite frankly. And I just bottomed out, man. I just could not get it done. And I have to say that the support that I got, I wasn't even reaching out or looking for support. The support I got from so many of you guys who sent a text, sent an email, sent a direct message, whatever it was, just reaching out and just saying, hey man, you're probably super busy. Love the show. Love what you're doing. Come back soon, all that kind of stuff. It really meant a lot. And it really made me stop and say, you know what? This show is important. Me doing this show is important. It feels good. It means a lot to me. It means a lot that this community has grown around the show, and to put it on a back burner, even if it's not, bringing in the income, let's say that one of my clients is bringing in, it's not right. It is not right. So I will fight to keep this thing going and be consistent as I possibly can. And again, I want to thank you guys for your love and your support and just sending it out. The other thing that's been going on in the background, and I have talked about this, I put this out on the Roadie.net Facebook page, is I've got some some friggin' foot issues, man. My feet hurt is what I'm trying to say. On my left ankle, I've got this degenerative cartilage thing that really causes my ankle to sort of, swell and get super stiff in the mornings, or if I've been sitting too long. That is going to need surgery down the road, like a year from now. The more pressing thing is this bone spur that I have and some other stuff in my right big toe, and that has ramped up. So the long and the short of it is, not to sound so doom and gloom here, I thought I was going to be needing toe fusion at 47, 48 years old, getting the bone fused up, and I really did not want to go that route. Anyway, met with a guy in the city in New York, and he said, no, you don't need that. That's way too aggressive. Yeah, we got other options. We're gonna go light. We're gonna go minimal. So I've got toe surgery coming up where they got to shave off the bone spur, clean it up, remove my sesamoid bones. You guys know what those things are? Whew, mine are dying. That's not anything you want to hear. All that's got to happen in July. So I'm going to be laid up. Can't drive for a couple of weeks. I got to get chauffeured around, but I can hobble around, do some work. It's going to be good for writing content, doing interviews. It's going to be perfect for that. So that's happening, which is going to be another nice chunk of, insurance bills and medical bills and all that kind of crap. So just bring it on, man. Bring on life. Okay, guys. I'm super psyched to be back. We've got a great show for you today. We've got front of house engineer with Sales, the band Sales, and tour manager Michael Thomas Regina. He is also a film composer. He is also a session cellist. The man hails from Sarasota, Florida. He's a graduate of Florida State University. He's also a photographer. Good guy. We had a good catch up. And he's done a bunch of stuff, man. He's a young dude. He's a young cat, as they say. And he's constantly learning, constantly pushing himself to get out there and learn new skills, stay on top of it. We talk a lot about how he balances, being on the road. This band Sales, by the way, sounds super cool. I've heard a little bit of their stuff. They just played Coachella. They are growing. So we talk a little bit about, what it's like to kind of be on the inside of a group like this that's starting to gain some momentum and starting to get out there, play bigger festivals. The audiences are growing. The size is growing. The venues are growing. How do you handle that? How do you adapt and grow with the band and everything, and talk about, there's a cool part where we talk about, how he gets to, because he mastered a lot of the stuff and mixed a lot of the album for them, how he can bring a lot of those sounds out on the road with him. He knows exactly what he needs, but also how they talk about shaping the sound that they want live and whatnot. And just being able to have that discourse with the band at this level, I think is kind of cool. And again, being on the inside of this whole thing. So I'm not going to hold this up too much. Let's get on to it. You know my sob story. I got toe surgery coming up. I'm working my balls off. So needless to say, it's been a little crazy. There's a few 100 million things going on, but it's not going to stop me from keeping this show going on. A lot of cool stuff coming up in the next several weeks. Some things that, because I'm going to be piecing it together, I'm going to try and throw out to you that I think you're going to enjoy along the way. So stay tuned for some of that. We got episode 150 coming up in a few weeks as well. I'm still trying to iron out my guests. For that show, but I think we're making some headway. I'm not going to say anything until we get that locked down. So anyway, I hope you guys are so far enjoying your summers. But again, I just want to thank you guys for being, the most awesome community. I got to catch up today with Night Bob, and he's doing great. And I'm just trying to think off the top of my head who else I've talked to. Fretman's podcast. If you guys know the Fretman's podcast, that guy got to make a cool connection from listening to my show and have some people on his show. Check out his show, Fretman's podcast. And just all of you are great, man. It's a big love fest. You know what I'm saying? We got Woodstock 50th. If they can't find a spot for Woodstock 50th, how about you all just come on down here to the barn and we'll get it on. We'll tune in, turn on, and drop out, as they say. Here we go, guys. Without any further ado, Mr. Michael Thomas Regina.
Hit it. Call yourself a roadie.
All right, dude. Michael, what is happening, man?
Yeah, just here with Sales, gearing up for a show at Firefly Music Festival coming up. So
now, Sales is not that's not your band, right?
No, it's friends of mine from college. They hired me on as front of house TM a couple of years back. So
Nice.
it's yeah.
That's very cool. And how? Tell me about that a little bit. Like working with friends and kind of getting the gig. Did they make you audition? And I mean, you guys have also played some pretty awesome places, man. So they're doing pretty well.
Yeah, it's been a good year so far. We all go way back, which is pretty cool. We met in college, and the drummer Malcolm, he actually hosted my first show ever. Like
Wow.
it was in his living room. Yeah. So I knew his roommate in college, and just put together a show, and there's a couple punk bands and a living room show. So.
Yeah.
And I think he probably introduced me to Lauren in the band at some point in school, and they had another band, like a punk band called USA Holes, that they're playing. So that's kind of like we all started in the DIY scene. I was booking shows out of my house, like right in my living room, touring bands coming through,
Yep.
and kind of just grew from there. So the band, they started sales, I think right after college, and I sort of jumped into the audio engineering side, just working on like local stuff.
Yeah.
And like working in recording studios and like anywhere I could get my hands dirty, basically.
Right.
So yeah, they started to get a little traction, and I've been a fan since the beginning. So at some point I hit them up. I was just like, hey guys, this is what I'm doing. And like, I'd love to come work for you at some point. So I just went from there.
Did you start doing front of house for them, or were you doing other stuff and then kind of there was an opening? Did they have someone before you, or what was the deal?
No, they didn't have anyone before me. I guess I just caught them at the right time. They were just, I guess, had been thinking about it for a while because they've been having all kinds of issues touring, and they were hitting it real hard around the US, and just, they're not like a typical rock band, like they don't have a bassist, which it just like blows some people's minds. They're like, what do I do with this? Like, I don't have,
Yeah.
So,
that must be nice. That must be nice for you though, live, right?
Yeah, somewhat. I mean,
what's basically the lineup? Guitar, drums, or what?
It's 2 guitars, 1 vocal, drums, and like backing tracks. So, and the backing tracks are like just pretty simple. Like usually that's where some of the bass comes in.
Yep.
But yeah, so it's nice not having like, crazy screaming guitars on stage or anything.
Yeah. Are you triggering a lot of this stuff too, or no?
No, they're doing it all on stage. They've got 2 SPDS X drum pads. Mm-hmm. So Malcolm, the drummer, is the one who's triggering all the tracks.
Nice.
So,
nice, man. So would you say that's the band that you've kind of cut your teeth with the most?
On this level of touring, yeah, it's front of house.
Yeah. What's the biggest venue you guys have done so far?
Probably the Coachella show that we did this year. It's probably the biggest crowd for those guys. I've done some touring also playing, but as far as like front of house, that was a pretty good one.
Yeah.
I think we're at the Gobi tent this year, which is it's pretty awesome. Those guys run a tight ship over there.
Yeah. Was that a cool experience for you in terms of getting to do something that size? Is that the biggest you've done so far, or no? As front of house?
Yeah, as front of house. I think that's probably the biggest I've done so far.
What was the learning curve like doing something like Coachella? Because you're also their tour manager. So were you kind of like, oh, whoa, this is a whole new ball game?
Yeah. I think the toughest thing about it is just the logistics of it. And it's like the first weekend that we get there, it's so kind of overwhelming.
Right.
Just like I'd been and played some other smaller festivals, but nothing of that size. So like immediately when we get in the gate and they're just like, driving us around on all the carts, but we still got to kind of figure out like where everything is, know?
Right.
That was a big learning curve, but and just working with, we're not used to having like so many people on a crew that are just willing to, make the show the best that it possibly can. Yeah. So it was great to have them, but yeah, it's, but once the show got rolling, then it's like right out of the gate, it sounded great. I was happy with it. So,
well, I bet it's going to sound pretty sick. I mean, I imagine to play a venue like that, it's got to probably be one of the biggest PAs you've mixed on, right?
Yeah. And I mean, they're system techs and
It's
are
it's
amazing.
rat sound. I mean, what do you want, right?
Yeah. Some of the best guys in the business. So, yeah. I mean, just man. Yeah. But otherwise, playing. I did some touring with Trampled by Turtles. You familiar with them? Bluegrass band.
Yep.
Yeah, I got to do some touring playing with them a couple years back, which is
because you're also
awesome.
a session cellist.
Yeah, I am. So that ties in.
Is that the thing you did with Trampled by Turtles?
Yeah.
Nice, man.
So, yeah.
You're like a real jack of all trades in that, because I went to your site and I checked out your photography. You got a great eye.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, man. And you're a session cellist, you're a touring cellist. There's recording, there's front of house, tour management. I think the biggest thing that struck me that I wanted to ask you is is the balance of all that before we dive into, sort of where else you cut your teeth. But just is any one of these things the path that you want to follow? And for now, you're just doing all of it just to do it all? Or how are you, how do you balance all that shit? Because also, I forgot to mention, you're a fucking film composer.
Yeah.
And that takes time.
It does, yeah.
You got to be in the studio and really work it. So, as one guy here who's dealing with a lot of multiple deadlines and trying to balance that to another, how do you deal with that?
It's it's been a balancing act right out of school. Cause I graduated 2014. So I'm still
you're like 12.
Still, and so some with that.
Just got out of grade school.
I keep saying to my girlfriend, I'm like, oh yeah, like just a couple years ago, like we were in college. It wasn't that long ago. She's like, that was more than 5 years, but yeah, we're still there. But back to the question. Front of house is really what I've always wanted to do. So I'm doing exactly that. I mean, I'm so thankful to be able to be out there and touring and doing that. But that's something that I kind of put like a soft deadline on myself, I guess, for I know that I probably won't want to do that forever. Mm-hmm. So some of the other things that I do, like mostly film composing, is kind of, I see that as like my second career, but that's going to be like my main focus at some point.
When your knees give out.
Yeah, probably exactly.
Your knees and your back.
Yeah.
And the girlfriend's like, dude.
Yeah.
I got 5 kids at home. What are we doing?
Yeah. And she kind of has a deadline for me too on that. So
they always do, man.
Yeah, they always do. So, but yeah, so
she gets it. She gets it, right?
Yeah, she does. So I'm thankful for that. She's really supportive of everything that I'm doing. So it's, I'm on the road and then I'm back and I'm just trying to drum up like film scoring stuff. And then I'm freelancing at venues and production companies. And just, I feel like I'm on a constant hustle always, but I think that's how it always is in this industry, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah. I mean, especially where you're at in your career, it's only going to hopefully get more, right? Sales. Let's say the band Sales starts doing really well. People get to know your sound, your thing. You're like, oh, who's mixing that guy? You're going to get the next gig. And so in between sales, you'll be out on the road again with somebody else. And then you're doing it.
Yeah. Right? Doing it in a real serious way. Yeah.
Do you like the tour management side? Or is that just part of, because they don't have anyone else?
I actually asked to take that on initially, just because it kind of makes a lot of sense at this level. Just doing the advancing and like being that contact guy, Yeah. Because at this stage, especially, it's most of the questions that are going through, are like the technical stuff. So that was going to get routed to me anyways.
Yep.
I like doing it, but I would like to do just one or the other.
Yeah.
Because the inevitable thing that happens is, every time I roll into a venue, I'm like, on stage, like pinning everything and, setting the stage. And I get questions from the production manager or someone at the venue. And I'm like, I have to like shift my brain.
Yeah.
It's like, for me, it's like 2 different brains.
Yeah.
It doesn't work great together. It's just, Yeah.
But I know from talking to you prior and whatnot that you have been listening to the show. So you know by listening to past guests that almost every one of these people on this show are wearing multiple hats.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Right? I mean, unless you
Yeah.
get to a certain level, I guess, and most of those guys and gals are older
Yeah.
to specialize, right? You're doing a few different things.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's going back to like, I guess, cutting my teeth like that. I do appreciate that side of it. I have tried to just learn every possible like part of the industry as I can.
Yeah.
Like I need to know how it is to be the patch guy and how it is to, push cable trunks around and like pull snake and mix monitors and like do all that. So, and then also be on stage as a musician,
Right. Then there's that.
Yeah, then there's that. So that helps a lot. So yeah, on that side of doing both hats, I appreciate it. But
do you find yourself when you're front of house and TMing, like, having that feeling, does the musician part of you come out like, fuck man, I want to be doing that. I want to be the guy in, center stage or just on stage playing. Do you get that push and pull, or you feel like, no, this is the path, this is the main thing, and then when I can pick up a gig playing, I'll play and all that.
Yeah, I'm more of like a in the background kind of guy.
Yeah.
So it suits me that way. Like, yeah, when, like you said, like when a gig comes up and I can play, that's great. But it's, I feel like a rock star being able to mix an awesome band every night.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, yeah, to be mixing at Coachella, no matter what stage, has got to be pretty awesome.
Yeah. And just, I was a fan of Sales before I started working for them. So thankful I get to listen to them every night.
Yeah. What's the how big is the crew right now? Is it like the band and you?
Yep.
In a van?
Yeah. Sprinter tours through the US. And we're going international this year, which will be fun. But yeah, it's basically all of us doing everything from load in to load out.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Like they're all on it with me. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Is it, but I imagine that their sort of success or their popularity is growing as you guys travel along. Is it kind of cool to be on the inside and yet have a bird's eye view of the whole thing? I mean, they're the artists, they have different commitments and whatnot than you do. So I imagine as you're tracking along with them, you're like, oh, man, this is crazy, but also like, man, this is kind of wild to see what happens.
Yeah, it really is. It's like, it still like phases me sometimes. We'll be like walking down the street or something and like someone recognizes them and it's like, I mean, they're just old friends of mine. It's just like, and their fans are so loyal and friendly, and it's awesome to see. It's awesome to see them grow, and they've all worked so hard for it.
That's great, man. That's great.
Yeah.
Can you think of, one thing, if you had to, that you came out of Coachella, that you learned, or an experience that you're like, man, that was fucking epic?
Oh, man, I think just watching the way that the crews work and their attention to detail was one of the biggest like takeaways, I think, for me. Just when meeting some of the other engineers for other acts and like just seeing their kind of workflows and we like seeing also like one of the biggest things is seeing like big acts with technical issues and seeing how engineers and crews remedy that with like a very level head and a focus, that's just like, oh, okay, like this is happening. This is what we can do. Like, this is how we're going to fix it.
Right. Sandstorm, no problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was a huge takeaway, and to just see like these high production shows also, like there's always going to be issues. It's like how fast and how focused can you fix it?
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So what's your next gig as a musician? You got anything coming
Right
up?
now, I've just been working on more film scoring stuff, trying to build that resume up. I did my first feature length film last year, and that's been shown around at festivals. So now I'm just been writing and recording stuff, and I'm going to put out a record I've got a project that's a like ambient project that kind of like jump started that film scoring stuff.
Nice.
So working on that, and maybe I'll play a show someday. But yeah, so that's the current thing in the works.
Nice, man. All right, so you're Florida born and raised.
Yep.
And musical family?
Yeah, somewhat. My dad plays music casually, but yeah. And my sister did at some point. I picked the cello because she did in school, and I wanted to be like her. So
that's cool.
Yeah. But the rest of my family is also, on the Regina side, lots of people play music.
Yeah. Nice, man. So when did you start, like, was it high school that you're like, I'm going to really start pushing this to be something I do?
I think it was in high school, just about. I thought I was going to be a classical cellist, actually. I was even went all the way to college with it. I went to Florida State for a little bit. Just kind of figured out real quick that the classical world's not really my thing. Yeah. And I've always been, into rock music, and kind of pivoted in like the middle of college, and just actually it was like I went to my first Bonnaroo in college, and going to that festival it just like something clicked where I'm like, I want to be that guy. I want to be the engineer that's like mixing this awesome show, you know?
Yeah.
So
you went as a fan, or you were there with a band?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just as a fan when I was like 19 or something,
Yep.
Just like that, just seeing like the level of production there, it just blew my mind. And yeah.
That's very cool, man. That's very cool. And tell me about your photography.
That's something I've been doing for a long time. It's kind of somewhat casual now, I guess. But it's kind of ties into everything else, I guess.
Yeah.
That I think like my dad got me into that because he always had cameras around the house, and he was always like shooting with 35 millimeter cameras, when we were growing up, my sister and I. So I think it was like started out as like something I could do in my kind of sleepy hometown.
Right.
It's pretty there. That's like one of the only things about it. So yeah, it used to take me outside and just do something, I guess.
Yeah. Were your parents supportive of you getting into the industry on this end of it?
I think they're more supportive of that than me being a classical cellist. Somewhat, yeah. I think that they were nervous. I guess like a lot of parents, like, there's not like just apply for this company and work your way up the ladder. It's not a very direct route per se. But they're pretty proud, I suppose.
Nice.
Yeah.
You've also got a bunch of recording stuff on your resume, studio stuff. Do you like that as well? Or do you more favor the road, the changing venue, that sort of environment as opposed to the dark, hourless room?
Yeah. I definitely prefer the road over the studios, except when you're in those like, really special moments where something magic happens,
Yep.
But I've had a lot more experience doing live sound than recording studio, so I haven't had as many of those magical moments in studios. But yeah, I've always been a traveler. I've always loved to just be out there and like just seeing as much as I can. So
nice.
It was like. Yeah, it was like the perfect career for me to pick.
Did you start, or how did you start dabbling in this stuff in college? I know you also spent some time being a DJ.
Yeah.
doing some stuff in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
Doing a lot of different stuff for that station. What was it? WVFS.
Yeah, V89. Yeah, that's like where I cut my teeth initially. That was always like the anti-frat, I guess. It was like the music frat.
Right, right.
Yeah, just like a bunch of nerdy kids who loved music. And I started volunteering for them, and they start you out on like the 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. shift. Great. The graveyard shift.
Totally.
I was DJing for them, and they had a recording studio that they did live sessions in, and I was like, this is awesome. Like every Monday night was like a local live band, they do a session.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So I just like got to know those guys who were part of that side of the program. And eventually like it was just became me. Like I got to be that guy.
Right. How long were you there, for all 4 years of school or what?
I think 3 years of school.
Okay.
And then the studio side was just like the last 2 years of it. But yeah, it's funny that sales, when they first started, actually came through the recording studio and did a live session with me. So I found it the other day. It's like a CD with like this.
Whoa.
Yeah. Like early on 2-track sales radio set.
Damn.
Yeah. So that's
how'd it sound?
It was it's pretty early on. It was
early on. That's a good political answer. Have you played it for them?
No, I haven't yet. I should do that sometime soon. I don't know if they'd want to hear it.
I think in the next Sprinter tour, you just pop it in the CD player.
Just casually.
Yeah, don't say anything. Just see what they say.
Yeah, I think Lauren was playing acoustic guitar back then, and they were using a drum machine. Malcolm wasn't part of the band yet.
Wow.
So, but yeah. So radio station, doing that stuff, and then booking shows out of my house, living room, and just. There was a couple iterations of like some DIY punk venues that had opened and stay open for a little bit and then close down. And the scene in Tallahassee is really tight, which is cool. There's always awesome. Like, there's a lot of house shows, and it's like, who had like a piece of a PA, and I've got like one speaker and you've got a different kind of speaker, and make the show happen.
Right.
It's times.
Who are some of the? That's awesome. There's 3 of them. Sorry. I'm looking out over my computer screen is a big window. It looks out into the woods here. I got a whole family of deer just cruising around.
That sounds beautiful.
Usually we get a bear or 2 that comes down, but nope, just a deer. Anyway, who are some of the the engineers out there ahead of you, if you have any, recording or live, that you're like, man, that guy or girl, if I could learn something from them, or talk to them?
Definitely Nigel Godrich on the recording side. Radiohead. That was one of my earliest kind of fanboy followings. Just listening to Radiohead's whole discography and then diving into like the technical side of stuff, and kind of like hearing about his start. He's always taken like such a unique approach that I've always really appreciated. And then also Mike Mogus, who's a recording engineer also. He's done a lot of like Bright Eyes, like Omaha, Nebraska stuff, like Saddle Creek Records. Yep. I followed a lot of his stuff, and it's even now like some of the stuff he works on, some bands like it. I'm like, he has just like he has a drum sound. Like I can sometimes I'll pick up a record. I'm like, this sounds like Mike Mogus's drums, and I'll look, and of course it's like Mike Mogus's drums. But
and what is that sound? Can you articulate it?
It's like with Mike Mogus, he like there's one particular song on a Bright Eyes record that I love called Gold Mine Gutted is the song, and he has this like just like this width, this stereo width about his drums where it's like. on that song, there's like snare hits happening, and he has them like panning left, right, like into like 2 hits, and like the whole drum kit is like just way out far. And I love that. And like, that's something that's one of my things that I think I take even into live sound, just making like these super wide, like full mixes, and really playing in the stereo field. So, and that came from him, like inspired by that. So
nice. And how about in the live world? Any engineers out there that you're like, oh man, if I could learn from that person, work with that person?
I don't have any like fanboy.
No fanboy roadie syndrome.
No fanboy roadies I can think of. There's so many talented people that I've heard so many interviews. I mean, listening to your show, I've reached out to some of them, which is pretty cool. And I've got some mentors that I guess I'm, really admire.
Let's throw out some love to some mentors. Who you got?
Shout out to Tom Fabjance. He's the monitor engineer for Trampled by Turtles, and he's been like one of the most important mentors for me. I'm always like hitting him up about stuff, like before I did my first tour, just like, what do you think about this? Like, I'm always asking him questions. He's always given me a lot of good advice over the years. Really appreciative of that. I reached out to Erica Rust also. Shout out to Erica.
Yep.
I was picking her brain before Coachella this year, just about like festival stuff, since she's working on that side of House Crew. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's very cool, man. I mean, I think it's got to be cool in the position you're in with sales in particular, because you guys are all together, they are growing, and I imagine that, and I could be wrong, you're going to correct me, but I imagine you guys must have some conversations, or at least you've got that kind of accessibility to the band to talk about their sound and what you can do in a live setting to help shape that. Yeah,
they're very receptive and open about their sound and like how we can achieve stuff. Like Jordan in the band specifically he's kind of like the production manager for the project. Like he and I work very closely to craft the sounds live, especially to make it as close to the record as we can. But then I've also been lucky to work with them in the studio, like on their last record, mixing some of their tracks and mastering some of their tracks.
So you're right in there.
Yeah.
So know.
Yeah. And that's been really instrumental in helping me achieve the correct sound live, to make it translate correctly.
Right.
Because, the backing tracks we pulled directly from, some of the tracks and maybe tweaked a little bit, but it's like stuff that I worked on directly mixing in the box, like then taking it out on the road.
Right.
It's pretty cool, to be able to do that.
Absolutely. What's your gear of choice out there at this point?
I have a Midas M32R, small format digital console, that I love. I've used it a lot over the last couple of years, with a Waves sound grid server, which is pretty incredible. It lets me use, Waves plugins live, which I'll take. It's the same kind of thing. I'll take some of those plugins that I use in the studio out on the road, like on those tracks. And it's pretty amazing technology.
Yeah.
But other than that, we've got a full tour package. So we tour with everything stands, cables, and everything.
Wow.
Which I think is pretty rare for a band our size. But it's nice because I tried to that was one of the first things when I started working with them, is like, we're going to have the most consistent set and show every single night that we can, so yeah, a lot of Sennheiser mics mostly. But Sennheiser in-ears for the band, and yeah.
Why'd you choose Sennheisers?
I've used them a lot with production companies that I've been working for, and I A/B'd some microphones with Lauren's voice. In particular, I think that the 935 just kind of lends a nice like clarity to her kind of soft voice that has this kind of crystally sound compared to like the Beta 58 that I tried for her vocal.
Yep.
And just match closer to what it sounds like on the record.
Right. What'd you guys use on the record?
Various stuff. It's funny. We have used Beta 58 for her vocals, even down to I think it's on the LP. One of the songs, the vocal is actually recorded with an Apple like headphones, which, you know, that's like, I feel like that sums up like just where we're at of like, you can, as long as it sounds good, like just always do what sounds good and what matches, you know?
Right.
But for the last record, we used a U87 clone, I think on every single song. So that was quite a step up.
I bet. Man.
I kept making the joke, you know, the new record was Sales does reverb and does does like this high end crystally thing, you know.
Yeah. How's the new record doing?
It's great. You know, it's funny whenever, like, I think this is probably how it goes for everyone, but Sales wasn't really sure like what was going to be the definitive single on it. Yep. And it ended up not being the track that we thought it was going to be, that everyone kind of gravitated towards as being the single. Mm-hmm. But it's been great. It's been going great live. I think the tracks sound awesome. But you know, it kind of blows my mind where we're at with streaming right now, of just how you can have a record that's like 5 years old and that could be like the one that someone gravitates towards. You know, it's not all about like the newest thing anymore. Right.
It's just like a volume of content out there.
Yeah, exactly. And like with the algorithms and everything that's happening, like I first noticed that with Trample because one of the shows I did with them, we did Red Rocks in Denver, mm-hmm. and I think at that point they were touring on a 2-year-old record, and they had played Red Rocks like a year before that. It was a 2-year-old record, no new content. Like they sell it out, like no problem. It just, you know, wow. 10,000 tickets. Yeah. And I'm just like, man, this is something that's changing in the industry. Yeah. It's awesome. I think it's great.
Well, and you're of that generation that kind of didn't know any different, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, streaming has really taken a hold of everything.
Right.
But yeah, I guess I'm technically like the LimeWire, like Napster generation, I guess. I don't know.
Are you?
The millennial. Yeah. I mean, I'm 27.
You're 27. But you must have been, because I was doing LimeWire. And I guess LimeWire, shit, I remember that.
Yeah, like
that was like 15. Oh my god, yeah, that was like 15 years ago. Yeah, I guess you would have been in high school doing it.
Yeah. Right. That's. I mean, I've been like a music nerd my whole life, probably. So
when's the last time you went and bought a CD?
A CD? Oh God, I don't know.
A CD. Damn.
Yeah.
When was the last time you walked into a record store and bought some music? And I don't mean virtually, dude. I mean like move those feet.
Yeah.
Into the
I buy
brick and mortar.
I buy records.
You buy vinyl.
So I buy vinyl. Yeah.
Okay.
CD though.
Yeah.
I don't know. At least like 15, 20 years probably.
Really?
I'd say, yeah. I mean, I don't have a CD player in my car anymore or anything. Right. Like I still got a big collection of it though. I definitely do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
yeah, it's awesome, man. It's you know, that was probably cassette tapes for me, or actually it was probably more. That's probably more like records for me when I was growing up around your age, right? Because like it was records when I was really little, and mm-hmm. then it became, and then tapes. Tapes were always kind of floating around out there. And then the mixtape, and then CDs.
Yeah.
I was a holdout on CDs. I remember my buddy Jake, he went out and got laser discs. He got CDs. He did all that. And I was like, what? This isn't going to last. And then sure enough it did.
Yeah. It's, you know, I still do. I have a huge pile of CDs still. Mostly because of the radio station in college. It was all CD based.
Right.
And vinyls, but I used to get some from the station sometimes. So, and I would make mixed CDs for girls that I was interested in,
Sure.
So
somehow making the mix CD was not quite like making a mix tape, though.
There's not as much effort, right?
No.
Is that what the key is? Like,
yeah.
Why?
When's the last time you made a mix tape?
Mixed tape. Probably only tapes.
Grade school.
Yeah, probably. Or I don't think a 4-track recording counts.
No.
This is my band. This is my mixtape.
Right. No, that's a little different. No, the mixtape, making a mix. In fact, I've got a tape deck over here that goes back with me to like probably college or something. And, it's the dual cassette thing and you're bouncing back and forth and then you get to, decorate the tape label and all that kind of stuff, draw little pictures and all that shit. It's a whole different thing. For your generation in particular, ingesting music, digesting music is a whole different thing.
Yeah, it's all about
but it makes sense.
Yeah, I'm kind of bummed to not have mixed CDs anymore. Honestly, It's like my girlfriend and I are always making like mixed playlists for each other.
Right.
Like we haven't, and it started out as CDs because we've been seeing each other a while, but now it's like it's not as like, I don't know, it's not as personal. I'm just like, here is a playlist. I just like, here you go.
Right.
Like send it to you in a text or something.
Yeah, it's not personal. That's like how birthdays, saying happy birthday in a text, when that started happening.
Yeah, it's the same kind of thing.
You got to pick up a phone, man. Say what's up.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Man.
That's very cool, man. Who inspires you as a cellist? Or as a musician?
As a musician, Johnny Greenwood and Radiohead inspires me a lot. And just like everyone in Radiohead, I think, Tom York.
Yeah.
They all inspire me a lot. It's like the pursuit of perfection, which I take to a lot of things. It's probably my biggest inspiration, I'd say. I'm like half and half. I always liked a lot of folk music and I still do. And then like a lot of rock and roll stuff. So I hate to go back to it, but on the folk side, it's always been, like Bright Eyes is always a huge inspiration, which is kind of funny because it's like just the angsty. Now it's like funny to listen to, I guess, because it's kind of like angsty folk music. But but yeah, I mean there was a lot going on those records.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Man. That's awesome. Tell me about some of the early or the first couple of event companies, production companies you were working for. And cutting your teeth with those guys.
Yeah, there's a company in Sarasota, Florida. That's it's called LJ Event Production. It's a small company. It's a husband and wife that run it. Mm-hmm. It's funny. I guess my like job interview was mixing for them at a festival in Tampa. And there's just like some buddy of mine that was working there. He's like, "Hey, you want to mix a Gasparilla this weekend?" I'm like, "Sure. Okay." So I show up and never done anything like that before. I meet the owner. He shakes my hand. He's like, "Okay, nice to meet you. Here's your stage." Like goes off to another spot. It gives me this amphitheater stage and it's like on a console I'd never worked on before and I'd never done like a festival in my life. Like, so, that was I guess thrown into the fire. That's kind of the best way it works in this industry. Yeah. But, so my buddy was there working the stage with me and then he had to leave at some point. He left like the last part of the day to just me. So he changes over and then he doesn't tell me that like half of the analog snake we're using wasn't working. Or like he just forgets to mention that. So, I'm trying to patch this band coming up and it's just like nothing's working. I'm not getting input anywhere. I'm just like, I don't know what my friends had patched beforehand. They didn't really follow like a festival patch or anything. So I guess at that point I didn't realize, but the owner of the company had come over to see how I was doing. And I'm like down in this amphitheater, like I just unpatched everything out of the snake, like started from the top and handled it. And I look up and he's up there. And I'm like, oh crap, he's totally not going to hire me again. Like he sees all this stuff. And then I talked to him afterwards. He's like, no, it's exactly why I was going to hire you. Cause you were like calm and collected and fixed the problem, you know?
Yep.
So yeah, I still occasionally do some work for them. They're good people, but that was like a random mix of stuff. It's everything from like festivals and like high-end private parties to fashion shows and like everything in between.
Yeah. Where did you pick that up to just figure it out and not freak out? Because I think you either are, you're either somebody who has that innately, or you are around it enough and you watch enough people and you learn it, or you're someone who just shits the bed when things go wrong, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That was definitely a sink or swim moment, probably for the rest of my career.
Yeah.
I don't know where I picked that up, honestly. I guess probably in some other realm of my life. It just kind of instinctively kicked in to do that.
Yeah.
Even like at Coachella this past year, like there was some technical stuff that happened and I just was like, just focused in on it to try to fix the problem,
Yeah.
But
I got to imagine though, at Coachella too, like perhaps the acts before you, those engineers are hanging around right near you. And then the guys after you, they're hanging around because they're getting ready to go. So there's probably also the pressure of like, trying to one up whoever came before you and like show to the guys before you, like, I got to keep my shit together.
Yeah, there's definitely that element. It's, I feel like I'm always walking a tightrope and like to be like confident enough to like not be an asshole.
Right.
And, that's a never ending learning thing, I guess.
Yeah. So you've been out there doing it for, I guess, if you want to air quote the professional thing, for like 6 years now, 7 years, would you say?
Like that, 6-7 years professionally. Yeah.
Yeah. When you look back, I mean, that's not that long. It's a good amount of time. It's not that long.
Yeah, still young.
Yeah. Still young. You got a ways to go. When you look back, what you were doing in the beginning, has a lot changed? Or is it just your knowledge has changed, or is it like, I think I had a good handle on this when I started?
A lot has changed.
Yeah.
I think, I still take a lot from my like DIY humble beginnings, I guess, of being able to make a show sound the best no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Cause like even like the mid-sized club tours that we're doing, there's still, venues that we run into that are maybe not equipped the best. You're not going to walk into a venue that's perfectly set up every single time.
Yeah.
Most times not. So, that side still sticks with me, but it has gotten a lot more scientific, I think. And just the knowledge base that I've acquired and I'm still constantly always learning is always expanding. So it's definitely gotten a lot more scientific.
Yeah.
And calculated.
Yeah. Have you taken, because you didn't study this in school, right? You were just doing it. You're just figuring it out. Have you taken courses or any audio type school things? And if not, do you feel like, I should probably dip in and do this? Or you're learning as you go and you're learning from the people that you're around and that's good enough?
I've grappled with that for a long time. I was like, maybe I'll go to grad school in Nashville. Maybe I almost switched and went to Nashville in the middle of my Florida State tenure, but I ultimately decided not to, mostly because of the scene there. And there was a club there that I also kind of cut my teeth in. I don't know. my knowledge is all, it's based on people around me, and as much as I can read and watch and talk to as I possibly can. I think at this stage it would be kind of redundant for me to go to school.
Because I imagine you're probably surrounded by a lot of people who did go to school.
Yeah, somewhat. I think, I don't know. It seems, I'm not really sure. It seems like it's half and half. The people that I kind of encounter, there's definitely you can tell like when someone has gone to school for it or not. Cause like one of the production companies that I work for in Tampa, occasionally is they have a lot of people that like come straight out of school into it, and they're really green about it, and they might have a real huge knowledge base about things, but the application is quite different.
Right. They've got the book smarts, but if something goes down.
Yeah, the troubleshooting thing is definitely that's a never-ending learning thing, I guess. But I mean, I guess it's for those guys. It's probably like when they get right out of school, they have like their residency,
right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. What's the venue that you can't wait to go mix at?
I would love to mix at Red Rocks.
You've played it. I've
played it, never mixed it. I'd love to work that. That load-in sucks, though, I will say. But that would be incredible. I'd love to mix at Bonnaroo also, because I mean, like I said before, that was like the thing that made me want to do this.
Yeah.
So.
What was the band? What was the band on stage when you had the epiphany? Do you remember?
Probably Deer Hunter.
Okay.
That was probably Deer Hunter. That or just that first Bonnaroo, My Morning Jacket on the main stage.
Yep.
They were like playing. I remember they were playing their song Golden, and like the sun's like coming down. It's like real beautiful, and they have a line of like that says like watching the crowd roll in, like out go the lights and it begins, and it's like that was like a magical moment.
Yeah.
So that probably did it for me.
Nice, man. Do you think you guys are far off from getting to Bonnaroo?
It's probably in the cards in the next couple of years, I'd say.
Nice.
I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Good. All right. So venue, we got Red Rocks, we got Bonnaroo. I mean, shit, you did Coachella, dude. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that was pretty surreal. Definitely surreal.
Were you kind of looking over at the main stage, like, like that? Let's get over there.
But also like a little scary thinking about it in the future. But it's someday I'll be there.
Yeah, nice, dude. And how about a milestone or something as a musician? Say again? How about like a milestone as a musician?
As a musician.
Yeah.
I would love to play my ambient project and do a tour with that. Because I have like an EP out for that from a long time ago. Yeah. But I've never played a show as that. So I'd love to do that someday. Love to do a festival circuit or like, I don't know. There's already been a couple of venues that we've hit that were like bucket list venues for me. Like we did the Bowery Ballroom in Manhattan, which is that was always on my bucket list. Bluebird Theater in Denver was always bucket list. It's a cool spot. Yeah. I'd love to do the Greek Theater someday.
Yeah, the Greek. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
I know. Those are probably the main ones. There's so many good ones out there.
Yeah, there are. For sure. For sure. Top 3 bands on your iPhone right now you're listening to. Sales not included.
Sales not included. Man. I've been listening to a lot of Rustin Kelly, who is a country artist. Mm-hmm. He's married to Casey Musgraves.
Okay.
So they sing some songs together, which is pretty awesome. Casey is also up there. Really love Casey Musgraves. What else have I been listening to? Lots of Khruangbin. That's a
Khruangbin.
Khruangbin, yeah. Have you heard them?
No.
They're
You've thrown out a lot of bands that I haven't heard of this hour, by the way, which is fantastic. How do you spell Khruangbin?
It's a weird one. Is it KHRUANGBIN?
Whoa, where are they from?
They're from Texas, I think, but I think they call themselves Thai Funk.
Okay, it sounds like a tasty beer.
Yeah, yeah. Especially when you listen to it, it sounds like a tasty beer.
Okay,
it's super chill. It's like it's just like really chill instrumental.
But it's funk.
It's kind of funk, I guess. There was like a subgenre of funk, like Thai funk from the 70s that it looks at, basically, is what they're kind of pulling from.
Okay.
So yeah, it's pretty neat. I saw them at Coachella. They were also on Gobi, which is great. Yeah, those are like the main ones. It seems like my playlists nowadays are so filled with just the singles because of where everything's happening, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, and then been listening to a lot of Orion Sun, which is a hip hop R&B artist from Philly, I think.
Okay.
She's pretty great, but yeah, it's probably the main ones.
Nice, man. Nice. All right. So what's the next big venue coming up? What's your next gig? When do sales go? When do you guys go back out?
We go out Thursday.
Okay.
So we got that Firefly Festival in Delaware, and then what's after that? I think we're kind of quiet for a bit after that.
When's the international bit start?
That'll be in the fall.
Okay.
Or I guess the July 31st, Osheaga in Montreal,
Okay.
another festival. And then this year we've got Corona Capital Festival in Mexico City. We've got a festival in Jakarta, doing some Australia dates and some a European tour, I think.
Fantastic, dude.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah, it is. Good, man. Well, we wish you luck, and thank you for coming out, dude. This has been great.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
All right, Michael Thomas Regina, my man, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Guys, stay tuned. Next week, episode 138. Don't forget, you can follow us at Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Podcast, YouTube, and Spotify, all as Roadie Free Radio. Check out the website, roadiefreeradio.com. Send me a note because you know I want to hear from you. That's info@roadiefreeradio.com. And my friends, in the meantime, you all be safe out there. No roadies, no rock and roll.